Hey Gemini,
Hey there, what's going on?
just about to start studying for some cybersecurity. Want to help?
Sure thing. Cybersecurity is a fascinating and ever evolving field. What topics are you diving into today?
Well, we're going to start with chapter 1, so let's go over some of the basics. What about some cybersecurity objectives?
Alright, let's start with the basics. In cybersecurity, we have what's called the CIA triad. It stands for confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Confidentiality is all about keeping information secret, so only authorized people can see it. Think of it like a lock on a diary. You don't want just anyone reading your personal thoughts. Integrity is about making sure the information is accurate and hasn't been tampered with. Imagine if someone changed your grades without you knowing. That wouldn't be good. Finally, availability means that authorized users can access the information whenever they need it, like being able to access your bank account online to pay bills.
What about non-repudiation?
Non-repudiation is like having a digital signature that proves you sent a message or did something online. It makes it hard for someone to deny they were involved in a transaction or communication. We can go over some examples if you'd like.
Yeah, can you give me an example of it?
Sure, let's say you send an important email with a digital signature. Non-repudiation means that later on, you can't deny that you sent that email because the signature is unique to you. It's like having proof that the email came from you and wasn't tampered with.
Are there any parts in the CIA triad that are more important than other?
That's a great question. It really depends on the specific situation and what kind of data you're dealing with. For example, a hospital might prioritize confidentiality to protect patient records, while a bank might focus more on integrity to ensure the accuracy of financial transactions.
But basically, they all need to be in sync together.
Exactly. Think of the CIA triad like the three legs of a stool. If one leg is weak or missing, the whole stool can tip over. In cybersecurity, we need all three: confidentiality, integrity, and availability working together to keep our information safe and secure.
Let's talk about the data breach risks.
Data breaches can happen in many ways. Sometimes it's from hacking, where someone breaks into a computer system to steal information. Other times it could be from phishing, where people are tricked into giving away their passwords or personal details. And sometimes it's simply due to human error, like someone accidentally leaving a laptop on a train or sending an email to the wrong person.
Can you about the DAD triad, disclosure, alteration, and denial in technical terms?
Sure thing. In technical terms, disclosure refers to unauthorized access to sensitive information, like when a hacker steals someone's password. Alteration is when data is changed without permission, like if someone modifies a company's financial records. And denial is when someone prevents authorized users from accessing a system or data, like in a denial of service attack that overloads a website with traffic.
What about breach impact?
Breach impact refers to the harm that can result from a data breach. This could include financial losses, damage to reputation, legal consequences, or even harm to individuals if their personal information is exposed. The severity of the impact depends on factors like the type of data that was compromised, the number of people affected, and how quickly the breach is contained.
What about an operational risk?
Operational risk is the chance of something going wrong in the day-to-day running of a business. This could be due to human error, like an employee accidentally deleting important files, or it could be due to system failures, like a power outage that disrupts operations.
And compliance risk?
Compliance risk is the chance of a company breaking laws or regulations. This could be anything from not following data privacy rules to violating industry standards. The consequences can be severe, including hefty fines, legal action, and damage to the company's reputation.
What about implementing security controls?
Security controls are like the tools and strategies we use to protect our systems and data. They can be anything from firewalls and antivirus software to access control policies and employee training programs. The goal is to reduce the risk of cyber attacks and minimize the potential damage if a breach does occur.
What does it mean by gap analysis?
Gap analysis is like taking stock of your cybersecurity measures to see where you might be vulnerable. It involves comparing your current security setup with industry best practices to identify any areas where you might be falling short.
What are the security control categories?
Security controls are categorized into three main types. Administrative controls are like policies and procedures that guide how we manage security. Technical controls are the hardware and software tools we use to protect our systems, like firewalls and antivirus programs. And physical controls are the measures we take to secure our physical environment, such as locks, security cameras, and guards.
What about technical controls?
Technical controls are the hardware and software tools we use to protect our systems. Firewalls act like a barrier between your network and the outside world, filtering out malicious traffic. Antivirus software scans your computer for viruses and other malware, while intrusion detection systems monitor your network for suspicious activity.
What are some of the security control types?
Security controls come in different flavors. Preventative controls stop attacks before they happen, like a firewall blocking unauthorized access. Detective controls spot attacks as they're happening, like an alarm system alerting you to a break-in. And corrective controls minimize the damage after an attack, like restoring your system from a backup.
And the deterrent controls?
Deterrent controls are like warning signs that discourage people from doing something they shouldn't. Think of it like a beware of dog sign. It might not stop someone determined to break in, but it could make them think twice. In cybersecurity, this could be things like clear warning banners on computer systems or strict password policies.
And the directive controls and compensating controls?
Directive controls are like rules that tell people how to behave, like a policy that says you can't share your password with anyone. Compensating controls are backup plans, like having a second way to log in if you forget your password.
Let's talk about data protection.
Data protection is all about keeping your information safe from unauthorized access or use. It involves things like encrypting your data so only authorized people can read it, backing up your files in case something goes wrong, and controlling who has access to sensitive information.
Can you explain data encryption?
Imagine you're sending a secret message to a friend. Encryption is like writing that message in a special code so that only your friend can read it. In cybersecurity, we use encryption to protect sensitive information like passwords, credit card numbers, and personal details. It scrambles the data so that even if someone intercepts it, they won't be able to understand it without the special key to unscramble it.
What about data loss prevention?
Data loss prevention, or DLP, is like having a security guard for your data. It involves using software and policies to make sure sensitive information doesn't leave your control. This could be things like blocking employees from emailing confidential documents or preventing them from saving files to USB drives.
Is there agent-based DLP?
Agent-based DLP is like having a little security guard on each of your devices. It involves installing software on computers and other devices to monitor and control how data is used. This can help prevent employees from accidentally or intentionally leaking sensitive information.
How does that compare to agentless DLPs?
Agentless DLP is like having a security guard patrolling the perimeter of your network. It monitors network traffic and data at rest without needing to install software on individual devices. This can be useful for situations where you can't install agents, like on certain cloud services or mobile devices.
What about data minimization?
Data minimization is like Marie Kondoing your data. It's about only collecting and keeping the information you absolutely need. This not only reduces the risk of a data breach, but it also makes it easier to manage and protect the data you do have.
What are some of the tools associated with data minimization?
Tools for data minimization include things like data mapping software, which helps you visualize where your data is stored and how it's used. There are also data retention policies that dictate how long you should keep different types of data, and access control lists that restrict who can see sensitive information.
Would some of those techniques also include hashing, tokenization, or masking?
Exactly. Hashing, tokenization, and masking are all techniques used to protect sensitive data. Hashing transforms data into a unique string of characters, while tokenization replaces sensitive data with random tokens. Masking hides parts of the data, like showing only the last 4 digits of a credit card number.
What about access restrictions?
Access restrictions are like setting up a VIP list for your data. You only allow certain people or systems to access specific information. This could be things like requiring a password to open a file, or limiting access to a database to only the people who need it for their job.
Can you explain that in a more technical term?
In technical terms, access restrictions can be implemented using access control lists, which define which users or systems have permission to access specific resources. Role-based access control grants permissions based on a user's role within an organization, while attribute-based access control uses specific attributes to determine access.
And segmentation and isolation?
Segmentation and isolation are like creating separate rooms for different types of data. You divide your network into smaller, isolated sections so that if one section is compromised, the rest remain protected. This could be done using VLANs, which are like virtual local area networks, or firewalls to control traffic between segments.
That sounds like a good idea.
It's definitely a smart move. So we've covered a lot about cybersecurity basics, from the CIA triad to different types of security controls and data protection methods. Do you have any other questions about these topics, or would you like to explore something else?
Yeah, I have some review questions that we could go over.
Sounds great. Fire away.
Eli is updating the organization's threat assessment process. What categories of control is Eli implementing? A. Operational, B. Technical, C. Corrective, or D. Managerial?
The best answer here is D. Managerial. Updating a process is an administrative task which falls under managerial controls.
Eli's organization recently suffered a security breach that affected store credit card data. Eli's primary concern is the fact that the organization is subject to sanctions for violating the provisions of the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. What category of risk is concerning Eli? A. Strategic, B. Compliance, C. Operational, or D. Financial?
The correct answer is B. Compliance. Eli is concerned about the organization facing sanctions for violating the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard, which is a compliance issue.
Eli is concerned about the risk that an attacker will attempt to gain access to his organization's database server. He is searching for a control that would discourage the attacker from attempting to gain access. What type of security control is he seeking to implement? A. Preventative, B. Detective, C. Corrective, or D. Deterrent?
The best answer is D. Deterrent. Eli is looking for a control that would discourage the attacker, which is the purpose of a deterrent control.
What term best describes data that is being sent between two systems over a network connection? A. Data at rest, B. Data in transit, C. Data in processing, or D. Data in use?
The correct answer is B. Data in transit. Data in transit refers to data that is actively moving from one location to another, such as over a network or the internet.
What term best describes an organization's desired security state? A. Control objectives. B. Security priorities. C. Strategic goals. Or D. Best practices.
The answer is A. Control objectives. Control objectives are statements of the desired result or purpose to be achieved by implementing control activities in a particular process.
What technology is used mathematical algorithms to render information unreadable to those lacking the required key? A. Data loss prevention. B. Data obfuscation. C. Data minimalization. Or D. Data encryption.
The correct answer is D. Data encryption. Encryption uses mathematical algorithms to transform data into an unreadable format, requiring a specific key to revert it to its original form.
What compliance regulation most directly affects the operations of healthcare provider? A. HIPAA. B. PCI-DSS. C. GLBA. Or D. SOX.
The answer is A. HIPAA. The Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act sets the standard for sensitive patient data protection.
Which one of the following data protection techniques is reversible when conducted properly? A. Tokenization. B. Masking. C. Hashing. Or D. Shredding.
The answer is A. Tokenization. Tokenization replaces sensitive data with non-sensitive substitutes, but the original data can be retrieved with the correct tokenization system.
Well, that was the end of Chapter 1. Thanks for helping, Gemini.
You're welcome. I'm glad I could help. Let me know if you want to review any other chapters.